Road trip fatigue looked real for the Dallas Stars as the Anaheim Ducks, without three of their best players, outwork and outplay the Stars, handing them a 3-1 defeat.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, forward producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The wildcard round is here, and FanDuel's officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. The Dallas Stars made a strong push late, but in the end, the Anaheim Ducks, without three of their top scorers and top players out of the lineup, dominate the Stars and take home a 3-1 victory last night, handing the Stars a disappointing loss in Anaheim. We're here to break it all down on today's episode of Locked On Stars. Road trip fatigue looked really real for the Stars last night. Just no energy, no juice whatsoever. And I have some concerns about Matt Duchene as well. Not exactly about his play last night. He looked good in pockets and stretches, but just overall, where is Matt Duchene heading and how are the Stars going to get the most out of him this season? We're going to get into all of that on today's show. So sit back, relax. It's a jammed-packed Wednesday edition of Locked On Stars, and just an overall disappointing loss last night to the Anaheim Ducks. The only reason it was close was because of Casey DeSmith. And honestly, he was maybe the one bright spot for Dallas. I would throw Rope Hintz into that conversation. I actually thought he had some life and some energy. Couldn't say that for most individuals last night on Dallas. No juice, no energy whatsoever against a team that is winless in their last 9 games. They came in looking like a team frustrated, trying to get back on track, and Dallas had no way to match them. There was absolutely no way the Stars were able to match that intensity Anaheim was playing with. It just felt like there was 2 orange sweaters on a Star all night. Dallas could not get interior. They would drive the puck in. They would curl. There was no support, no outlet. They looked completely lost trying to exit their own zone. I thought a part of that was the late absence of Miro Heiskanen. He was a late scratch due to a personal family matter. Hope everything's okay with Miro and his family. We wish him the best, of course, but you could see his value missed last night because the Stars were just all kinds of discombobulated trying to move the puck out of their own zone. The amount of turnovers, and credit to the Ducks, they forechecked really hard. They pinched in. Their defense played really aggressive, and Dallas just had no answer. They couldn't make adjustments. They got better as the game wore along, and the final 5 minutes was great, but where was that intensity early in the contest? They had to jumble all the lines together just to find something that would work. Goaltending was just playing experimentation at that point. He was searching, and the Stars were searching against a team that just was outworking them in every facet of the game. Stars power play was awful. It was a real horrific watch for the first 2 periods. And they had some good stretches, good pockets, but nothing sustained. And the Ducks were peppering Casey DeSmith early. They started to play prevent defense late, which gave the Dallas Stars some life. And they were able to get one on the 6-on-5 attack via Rope Hintz. Beautiful goal, by the way. Nice pass for it by Matt Duchene. It was a real pretty play. It just was too late for the Stars to finally match some of that intensity. And again, the score's 3-1, but it felt like 5-0 in a lot of ways. Stars were outchanced 25-12 at 5-on-5. The high danger was 13-7 in favor of Anaheim. I thought the Stars were lackluster last night. There wasn't a lot of energy, and maybe some of that is due to the long road trip, right? They had to travel across country, and maybe there was some effects to that. It didn't help. Miro was a late scratch, of course, and the Stars had to trot out Capobianco, Petrovic, Lyubushkin all together. It was a nightmare, as you would expect. I thought Petrovic was awful in the game. Lyubushkin didn't give me much to write home about. Lundqvist, didn't love him. Harley, even the one guy you would hope would kind of show out. Not a huge fan of what he was able to provide, which seems to be the story of his year. It was just an overall struggle fest for Dallas in the contest. And it's not the loss that upsets me. It's the way they went about it, which is really frustrating. The Ducks were without their top three scorers, ladies and gentlemen. Like, they're great players, and they're top three scorers. And the Ducks were the more lethal team offensively. They looked a much more dangerous threat. Isn't that mind-boggling? Let that sink in. The top three scorers for Anaheim: Carlson, Terry, Gauthier, 44 points, 42, 40 respectively. All gone. And who was the more threatening team? The Anaheim Ducks. That right there is just a massive issue. Not good enough. It's simply not good enough. Duchene looked more dangerous as the game went along when he was thrown alongside Rope Hintz and Robertson. That line looked okay. Rantanen and Johnston weren't getting much help from Sam Steele and company, whoever they kind of trotted on that line. It was just a really poor night for a lot of individuals. Rediscover was playing with Duchene and Benn to start the contest. They were awful. 7 scoring chances against, 0 scoring chances for at 5-on-5. The fourth line wasn't very effective. Just not effective remotely for a lot of individuals. The power play on a night where you really needed it to kind of come through to help you out, the Stars just couldn't bury a puck. Dostal was excellent late, man. He made a couple of spiffy saves, but the Stars were never a consistent threat. They couldn't get to the net. The Ducks were right on DeSmith all night. The second goal from Seneca, who was excellent in the game, just jamming it home. They took it to the rack shift after shift. And the shots on goal were 25 to 25, but a lot of it was perimeter from Dallas. They weren't able to really funnel pucks on net as much as you would like. It was sort of the typical problems the Stars have faced this year and have faced lately. Power play is dry as a bone. Giveaways galore. Defensive zone exits are awful. No cohesion whatsoever. Can't connect a pass in the first period. The Ducks could have ran the Stars out of the building in the first 20 minutes. That's how bad it was. Just a real tough night. And they played well down the stretch, which was good to see. Gave you some hope, but they had no business winning the game, and they made it 2-1. I'm thinking to myself, I almost don't want them to win it because that's how bad they've played. And they don't deserve even a point in the contest. That's how upset I was while watching the game, because they just could not put two passes together up the ice, and there was no forecheck. Anaheim was great in the contest. They deserve a ton of credit. They were faster, hungrier, better on the walls. They won every 50-50 puck, and they made Dallas look like a team that had lost 9 straight going into the game. But they weren't that team, believe it or not. It was the Ducks without their 3 best players, 3 top scorers at least going in and looking like the better team all night. I know Dallas is playing on a back-to-back, but come on. Really? That shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. Let's talk about the road trip fatigue and how Dallas looks lackluster, and they have no energy night after night. Doesn't seem to be getting any better. Is the Olympic break a godsend at this point? Let's discuss that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees a full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can keep your existing number as well. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the new year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months where you go to quo.com Locked On NHL. That's quo.com/Locked On NHL. That's quo.com/Locked On NHL. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. I think the cross-country travel fatigue really is real for the Stars, who seemed to lack an extra gear last night in Anaheim. I mean, how can it not? It's not just the longest road trip of the season game-wise, but the longest trip, especially in terms of the travel, having to start on the East Coast and going west. And maybe some of that caught up with him last night, because the Ducks were just clearly the faster team, which in a lot of ways they probably should have been. They had a couple days rest, so maybe there's a skosh of overreaction here, but I still struggle to comprehend the lack of not even just energy, but will sometimes. The urgency and the effort seems to not be at a high enough level some nights. And that can be, it can be really excruciating to watch in a lot of ways, because they are just such a talented team, and they should be playing better, right? The expectations are high, and at some point they have to be able to push through and find a way to kick it into that extra gear, because they ran ragged for a large portion of last night. And it is the second night of a back-to-back after the lengthy travel. So maybe I'm looking into this too much and being too pessimistic. But we've seen some of this when the Stars were at home during that winless skid, right? It's not just occurring because of the road trip. We've seen it back at home when they had a stretch of games, and they didn't seem to be able to find that gear necessary to pick up wins or match the intensity of the opposition. And they're older. Of course, they look slow. Multiple individuals look slow. I thought Radek Faksa, he's never a burner, but sometimes he's got some gas in the tank. Ben hasn't looked great. Duchene has looked extremely slow. I'll kind of get to him in a bit as well, but it's been a doozy of a trip. That's for sure. And I think you're really starting to see the effects of that travel. I'm hoping the road trip finale isn't going to be a bloodbath in Utah, who's humming lately. The Stars better be up for it, because that will get ugly in a hurry if they're not able to find their game. 3-4 now in the Stars last 10. It really is tough to be as down as I am, because you look at where the Stars are, and they don't have a lot to fight for the rest of the regular season. And maybe this is a broader topic we could discuss on another episode, but I feel like it sort of fits into what we're kind of getting at. I don't know if there's anything to fight for the rest of the way for Dallas. Of course, you would like to get home ice advantage, but is it imperative? No. I would like to see Dallas playing better and play up to their potential, because it won't matter what seed they get if they continue to have the lapses and the issues they're having consistently on a nightly basis. But they're second in the NHL. I don't really see a way they can catch Colorado. They would have to go on an absolute bender. I mean, maybe losing 8 in a row to even drop into a wild card spot at this point. That's how much distance they've kind of put between themselves and the other group that's fighting for a wild card position. So it's like the regular season's done in a lot of ways for Dallas. So is there as much urgency for the Stars? I don't know. Are they going to tell you that? Of course not. You're not going to hear that. But internally, subconsciously, if you're a player on Dallas, you're probably like, okay, we're in a good spot. Do I really need to work my butt off for the next 30 games or whatnot and use up every ounce of energy when we already know who we're going to play? We already know we're making the postseason sort of deal, right? I don't know. I think there is some of that potentially creeps in to the mindset, because I don't see any other outcome at this point that doesn't end with the Stars and Wild playing in the first round. It'll just depend who is the home team in games 1 and 2, which we know, at least under DeBoer in the last couple of years, really meant nothing for Dallas. They struggled even when they had home ice advantage to keep it. I'm really curious about that. I am. And it probably gets worse when you factor in this long road trip and you're just waiting to get home and waiting for, I guess, just something to play for in some ways. I don't know. Just a curious thought, a little thought bubble that kind of popped up, and I'd be curious to hear your perspective. Let me know in the comments below. Just a disappointing loss last night to the Ducks, 3-1. Some bad games from a lot of blue liners. The Stars decor looked rough, and I don't think it was a surprise without Miro in the lineup. They were just discombobulated from the start. They actually defended pretty well early. The Ducks were creating chances, but the first 10 minutes, Dallas blocked a lot of shots. They got sticks and lanes, which is great, but at the same time, they were allowing all that space for Anaheim to get those looks, and it of course turned out to be rather costly and haunt them at the end of the day. Again, we hope Miro Heiskanen is okay and his family is okay. Hate to hear anything poor that's happening with that. So we do wish him the best, of course, and hopefully he can return soon. But family is always number one. And I think when those tweets and stuff, reports come out, you're able to put that into perspective, of course, because yes, he is a heck of a hockey player, but you have family at home. He certainly wants to take care of. So hopefully he can be back soon when that is resolved, potentially, whatever that may be, because they need him. It was a tough night. It was a tough night for everybody involved for the most part. And Star's going to have to find a way to muster up some energy to close out this trip on Thursday against Utah and the Mammoth. I want to talk to Shane a bit because I have a lot of concerns. I don't love what I'm seeing from him. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Let me know. But is Matt Duchene going to be Matt Duchene that we saw the previous 2 seasons? I don't know if that's ever coming back. Let's discuss it more in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Factor. New year, big goals, and somehow even less time to cook. If you're trying to eat better but don't want to spend hours grocery shopping or meal prepping, Factor makes it easy. These are fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs so you can eat well without all the work. Factor meals are made with quality, functional ingredients, lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, or seed oils. Just real food that fits your goals, whether it's eating healthier, managing calories, or getting more protein. My favorite thing about Factor is the variety. There are over 100 rotating meals every week, including high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean, and even GLP-1 support options. The meals are always fresh, never frozen, and they're ready in about 2 minutes. No prep, no stress. Factor also has Muscle Pro meals. If you're trying to bulk up this winter, they're perfect when you want something higher in protein to support strength and recovery. So head to factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off and use code LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off. Code LockedOnNHL50 off. Make healthy eating easier with Factor. I'll be honest, I'm a bit worried about Matt Duchene as the season wears along because we haven't seen the Matt Duchene we got in the previous 2 seasons for whatever reason. I think the injury at the beginning of the year has something to do with it, but he has just seemed to lose that step. The stick handling, the skills all seem to be there. He made a couple of beautiful plays last night. He set up the rope a Hintz goal, and he has a couple points and a couple goals over his last half dozen games or so. But that step is just not there that we saw the first couple of seasons here in Dallas, where he was able to lose guys and spin away, create space for himself and others. I don't think we're getting that, and we're not seeing it anymore. And he's, of course, only going to get older. He's got 10 points in 21 games, 11 points in 21 games now. He's 34, and you're asking him to play in your top 6. You're asking him to play a pretty big role. They don't seem to know where to put him in the lineup right now. They've tried him next to Rantanen and Johnston. That's had some good stretches. They put him alongside Robo and Hintz last night. That looked good in a small sample size. I always believe Duchene was at his best when he was centering a line. That's where he's maybe his most effective. I don't think he's great on the wing. And with Johnston playing at the center position alongside Rantanen, they just don't have a great fit right now on that top line. And Duchene at points can surprise, or at points has moments where you're like, oh, there it is, but it's just not there on an every night basis. And I keep coming back to, there's just no separation. He can't find the gear to get to where he's able to kind of shimmy guys away. Now it feels like he's getting held up, and it's become a lot harder for him to make plays. The Stars are trying to find combinations at this point that I think suit him too. They just have a lot of guys right now that are just kind of in the middle, right? You got a Ritskovian, you have a Bork, a Steele, of course. These guys that don't seem to be great complements for some of the other duos that you like up front. Although Bork, I believe, has actually been really good with Robo and Rope, but they need more. They need more out of a lot of these guys. And I just have concerns about Duchene. Look, I was never expecting him to put up 82 points again, but somewhere around the neighborhood of 45, 50. Of course, the injury did not help. It slowed down his season, so he was never going to reach those marks more than likely. But his points per 60 is way down. It's the worst of his career by far, 0.85. By far his worst. And I think there's a sharp decline incoming with him. I really do. His defensive and offensive ratings aren't great this year. He's not much of a factor on the power play. I just don't think he's much of a factor on most nights right now. And that isn't just lately, because he has been able to produce some, and maybe that is him kind of finding a groove, and maybe we need to give him some more time. But it's not like he came out of the gates firing on all cylinders. And the injury did happen early, so it maybe just threw him for a loop. So maybe it's another one of these deals that we have to give it time. But I feel like we said that about Harley. I'm still waiting, because it's not looking good right now. And Duchene being latched on for a couple more years, it's not look all that great, having him sign for 3 more years. And yeah, it's a fine deal in terms of cap space. And of course you can get out of it with a buyout, but you kind of need him to be a contributor, to be a pretty large piece of your team and production. And I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing the same Duchene. That's at least what my eyes are telling me. Maybe I'm off my rocker. Maybe some of you disagree, and that's fine. I'd love to hear that in the comments. Maybe there's something else I'm missing, but it just does not give me the same warm, fuzzy feelings that I have about Duchene. And y'all know on this show the last couple of years, we have shouted from the rooftops, best bargain in the NHL, the best value in the NHL. 82 points was always going to be a stretch. I don't think anybody expected him to be that. But I would expect him to be a bit better than a Jamie Benn, right? Production-wise, Jamie's got 14 points in 24 games. And Duchene's kind of right behind him. And of course, the injury didn't help, and maybe that derailed him a bit. But he's playing over 15 minutes a night, and he's playing more than Bork right now. And maybe the Stars are going to have some tough decisions to make. I think Duchene, Steele, where he's playing, I think it just. It sort of forces the Stars' hand. They have to go out and get a winger, a center, right? A scoring winger of some kind that can, a playmaker, somebody that can help out. They need reinforcements. They're not good enough up front. I don't believe they're deep enough. And I've always I say that throughout the season. Like, I think they have good depth. I think it's effective depth for where guys are playing. They're just not going to give you enough offense. That's where the Stars are going to have issues. They just don't have enough guys that can give you goals in big moments. I don't think they have that. They're not. Of course, they're not as deep as they were the last couple of years. They need guys that can score. because when you get to the postseason, it's going to dry up. It's going to become harder, and you can't rely on a Bork at this point from what we've seen. You can't rely on a Duchene at this point. You can't rely on Ben, right? You need somebody else other than Rantanen and Johnston and Robertson to kind of give you something. They have to make a big move. I just think that's where it's heading. If the Stars want to be competitive with the Colorado, even Minnesota, who has really hit their stride as well. Big decisions are coming, and Duchene is probably ideally right now your third line center. So if you can find somebody you can move into that top six, that would be great. That's just my concerns with Duchene. I think there may be a big drop off coming. Although he did play well last night. Again, it's not just an indictment from yesterday. That's at least what my eyes are telling me. Would love to hear what your eyes are about Duchene, because I'd love for him to be the guy we saw the previous 2 seasons. Alrighty, that will do it for today's episode of Locked On Stars. As always, Stars fans, thank you so much for love and support. Hey, be sure to check out the Everydayer Club if you have not. You can find the link in the show notes. You can get an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Stars, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to a members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server as well, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. Again, give it a check in the show notes. There is a link down there. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for the love and support. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you tomorrow, Stars fans. So long.